Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today right here I have with me the Realme C25s, and just a few days ago I did an unboxing and an overview about this phone, and in this video I'm going to do a review of this phone. I've been using this phone for the past 2 to 3 days. Since I did the unboxing, from that time point onwards I've been using this phone as my daily driver, and in this video I'm going to give you my review about this phone. So as you can see here, this is the phone. I have installed my apps, my daily used apps and everything, as you can see here. And what I'll give you tell you everything, the specifications and what I found out about this phone, and what I think about the camera and everything. So as you can see, this is the phone here, and as you can see here, like I have gotten it set up and everything. So like you can see here, it looks like a Realme UI, like a Realme UI 1.0, which is on Android 10, and this is a Realme UI 2.0 on Android 11. I'll just go in the settings and show you the the Easter egg for Android 11. I'll just go into settings and show it to you. As you can see here, this is the Easter egg for Android 11, and now almost most of the phones are coming with Android 11 out of the box. So as you can see, this is Android 11, and in my previous video, like of the Nazo 30A, I showed you what you get on Android 11 on like that phone, and most of the same things are here. The only difference is on Nazo 30A, the phone got a little bit sluggish, it started heating up and everything like that. But like since I'm using this phone, what I've noticed is, like, I'll go into Antutu and show it to you. Here is the the smart sidebar. I'll go into Antutu and show you the temperatures what I've gotten on this phone. It's comparatively, there are some moments where it will heat up, like go to a point where it's kind of at a concerning level, but not to the point where you can feel in your hands. Like there are some phones that get so hot that you can feel it in your hand, and you think about keeping it at some place, let it keep it down so that it can cool down and then use it. But this phone, it does heat up, but only at points where really pushing it, like running some games, even using it at full brightness and running this benchmarks back to back, like I did when I was testing this phone, or maybe even using the camera and everything like that. So that's the place where it really starts to show the the high temperature. And as you can see here, the battery percentage that you're seeing right here is that like I only charged this phone once, and since then it's been running. This is the third day, and I think now it will require some charging. So you can see I have used it, like I have used the camera, I have used the GPS, every kind of stuff that you try to use your phone for like daily stuff. So with that, you can see that it has 33% battery. If I have not run that much games on it, maybe 1 or 2 times, but not some people who run games for like 1 or 2 hours. If I have done that, then the phone might have been dead by after 1 day or maybe even 1.5 days. But since I haven't done much of that, this is the battery level, and you can see here the graph. Here you can see how down it has gone, and the temperature itself. So right now it's at let me just check here. It's at 35 degrees Celsius. As you can see here, this is the temperature. And when I go into the CPU, the CPU does fluctuate. Like right now it is 40, now it's gotten below that. It depends on like what you're running on it. But compared to the Realme C25s, that phone would continuously go to 40, even if I'm not using it. Like even if I only have the high brightness on, then it would go to like 40 plus. This one also goes to 40 or 40 plus, but not to that much time. It stays within the 30 to 40 limit, and that's it. And I've used this phone. So what right here you can see I have the bubbles option enabled. This is one of the new options in Android 11. For any kind of messaging, for WhatsApp, for Messenger. This is this is one of those things which Android took from Facebook, which Facebook Messenger was using for a long time. So this is one of the things that is new in Android 11. And even the notification status and everything. I even have the optimized charging on. But since I have only charged it once, there is no much it hasn't given me any notification, like with the Nazo 30A it gave me a notification like it will be fully charged by this time. Right till now I haven't gotten any that kind of notification. This phone has a 8 megapixel front camera and 48 megapixel rear camera. I'll get to the the 14 megapixel camera later on, but because that is a good part of this phone. and the battery, you can I just showed you, it's at 33%. And even the fingerprint scanner, most phones, most budget phones, what they what the companies do is that they put some kind of a delay. Like I let me just focus it right here. Like I'll just unlock it, it's there, like, and it's unlocked. Some phones, what they do is they intentionally put some delay so that you can feel some sluggishness, some slowness. And as in when I did a comparison of the Realme C 30 with Infinix Note 10 and showed you that there is some sort of a delay when I open the app info page. Like I'll go here and open the app info page of Twitter. Now you can very clearly see here, you can go to the previous video of my previous video and see that what kind of, how much delay there was. But in this phone, as you can see, that this phone has there's no sluggishness, no slowness in it. So this is what I told in the previous video, that a phone that came with Android 11 pre-installed and a phone that got an update to Android 11, there is a huge difference of speed. I don't know why or how that is, but there is a difference. Like even let me open N22 again and I'll show you. Like as you all like if you saw my previous video, that the Realme 38, the score of that phone from Android 10 to Android 11 went down by around 10,000. Like this is at 175. This was the score of Realme 30 on Android 10, but when it got to Android 11, it was at 165, 166, or maybe 168, but it never got to this score. So here you can see a very clear difference. Yes, this phone has the same Helio G85. The Nano 30 also had the same G85, but because of the update, that phone got slow and had some slight issues in it. But this phone, since it came pre-installed, I'm pretty much sure that once this phone gets the Android 12 update, whenever it does, like right now it's not out for the public, but whenever this does, I'm expecting the same thing to happen, that the score will decrease by the same amount. Because the processor is same, the rest of the things are the same. The only thing difference is that this thing has Android 11 pre-installed. And I have compared this phone with some other Android phones running Android 11. Like I have ran Geekbench on it. Let me remove this bubble. And what I have seen is, like, you can see here the score. These are all the scores of this phone, and since I did the unboxing of it, like you can see here, the 384, 1357, 386, 1350, 385, 1347. So you can see here a pattern that the multi-core score is decreasing, and the the single core score is staying the same. And overall, what I've seen is that this phone, I'm thinking the reason is for getting a good score than the Realme 30 is because of the fact that the company has done optimizations and everything according to the hardware. They have been using the Helio G85 in 2-3 phones already, so they kind of know what the weak points are, how to optimize it, how to better use the all that power that they have because of the Helio G85. And that's a good and I think that's good. That's why in that video I did say that a lot of people stay with the pre-installed software version, and this is the reason why, because they don't have any issues, any glitches, they don't have anything like that, and no sluggishness, no slowness, because you can very clearly tell the difference between a sluggishness that happened because of an update or a sluggishness that is taking place because the phone is getting old, the hardware is getting kind of outdated and everything like that. So that's one of the things. And I have taken some camera the photo samples of this phone, and I'll give you overall opinion of the camera about this phone once I show you the the camera and the photo and the video samples. And here I show you the samples from this phone, from the 48 megapixel rear camera, both the photos and the videos from this phone. And as you have seen, I'm pretty much sure a lot of you have noticed the difference. I have taken two photos at any point in the auto mode and in the 14 megapixel mode, which is in the camera of this phone. And what I have noticed is that in auto mode it kind of brings up the color, like there is a a greenery, some park area, and you take a picture of it. In auto mode, what it tries to do is just tries to boost the color. I don't have any chroma boost or any option on, and HDR is in auto, so whenever it detects that it needs HDR, that's when it turns it on. And in what I've noticed is that in auto mode it just brings up the color. It doesn't care about the detail, like detail like, so the pathway where people walk. That's in auto mode you can barely make out the details of individual pieces. But in 48 megapixel mode, that's where the colors are closer to real life. And some people might say that they prefer having the saturated look, or the color boosted look of the photos. But what I prefer is if I can get closer to real life colors and have as much detail possible in it. Even in some photos, as you have seen that there are some harsh lighting where most of the budget phone cameras really give up. But because this phone has a 40 megapixel camera and has a good image processing, that's where the 48 megapixel mode, that's where it can really figure out where it tries to bring out it. In 40 megapixel, what it does is tries to it doesn't focus on bringing the color up. It just focuses on bringing out the details on the on different textures. Like in 14 megapixel, it's just like plain, like some, you can't tell what it is, what's the texture, or what it is. But in the 40 megapixel mode, if you zoom in, you can very clearly tell that, see that you can make out the details. That's one of the major things. Like in 14 megapixel mode you can make out the detail. And for video, as you would have seen that the quality of the video is really good with that 1080p 60, which I showed you in unboxing video, that this phone has a 1080p 60 frames per second option, which I like a lot. And I have when I zoomed in the video, you would have noticed that once I try to zoom in, this phone does not have a dedicated zoom camera or periscope camera. So it uses that 14 megapixel sensor just to zoom in, like crop in the shot. So you can very clearly notice in the video that as I zoom in, the detail or the quality of the video goes down. And that's one of the common cost saving points, where a lot of smartphone brands save costs on it. They don't put a zoom camera. And you might have also noticed in the video that when I was moving or panning around, you would have noticed the shakiness. That's because in budget phones, especially like at this price, at the price at which this phone is, you don't get an optical image stabilization at all. Not even the EIS, that electronic image stabilization. So that is one of the things that's lacking. But when you think about the price, if the price was at 30,000 or even 35,000, at that point you would be like very picky, like I need OIS, I need the stabilization and all that. And there are some companies that are doing this, that they don't give you optical image stabilization, even though the processor that the phone has, or the sensor they are capable of doing it, but they just limit it in the software, so that for some reason they just limit it. Like as I told you, like this phone with a 40 megapixel camera sensor, this has the 1080p 60. But some other phones of the same price, or maybe, and even with the same processor, like there's no processor difference, even those phones don't have the 1080p 60 frames per second. So this is kind of a good thing for Realme. Like they optimize, they try to get the best out of the hardware that they have, and they're not limiting it just to save cost or anything like that. And the main way they reduce the price of this phone or gave it at a lower price is because this phone is manufactured locally in Pakistan. So they didn't put any kind of there was no extra cost on it, so that they were able to sell this phone at a lower price. So that's one of the things. And even I've just today, right as I'm making this video, Redmi announced the Redmi 10, which comes with a Helio G88 and has a 50 megapixel back camera, which is a little bit high. This one has 48, that one has 50. But the only thing difference between this phone and the Redmi 10 is the Helio G88. That phone has a Helio G88, this one has a Helio G85. This one has a 14 megapixel camera, that one has a 50 megapixel camera. But that phone also has an 8 megapixel ultra wide. But at the price, like that phone launched is starting at 30,000. And one thing that I've noticed, that phone comes with a 50 megapixel camera but does not have a 1080p 60 frames per second option, which is really bizarre to me. Like a phone at 20,000, like this phone, the Realme C25s, has a 1080p 60 frames per second option with a 48 megapixel camera with the Helio G85. So I have no doubt that the 50 megapixel sensor, the Helio G88, is capable of recording 1080p 60 frames per second. But like as I said, some companies just limit it in the software. So this phone, as like a lot of people, you might have seen a lot of the videos where people said this is the best value for money, and yes, this phone is really best value for money. The 40 megapixel sensor, the way they optimized the software of the phone and the hardware that they had, because of that, I have no issue in recommending this phone. And this phone is right now, available in online market now, and maybe later on it will be available in, offline market. But at whatever price you get it, if you compare it, the Redmi 10 is, what I would say, is a true competitor of this phone. If you forget about the price of both of this phone and that phone, both of these phones are true competitors. But if put price into perspective, like like at that 30,000, you'll be really picky, like why doesn't this have 60 frames per second, which I prefer, because I can really see the difference between 30 and 60, and I prefer having 60 frames per second on all the time. So and Realme came into existence because of Redmi, so that it could compete with Redmi in the budget side. And I can say Realme is really winning this, because I like the Realme software. I like the things that the hardware that they gave. The design, some people might not like the design, the water drop notch, and the Redmi has a hole punch. That's okay, and that's depends on person to person. It's their depends on your own what you prefer, having a hole punch, having a notch. Personally, it doesn't matter to me whether I have a notch or whether I have a hole punch. It doesn't matter to me. The thing is, like, the internals really matter to me. And that's all I have to say about this phone. And if you're thinking about buying this phone, or you're on the fence of whether you should buy this or not, or whether are there any other good options compared to this, I would say right now, at this point, like that the point I am recording this video, there is no other good option than this phone. And if you can get this phone, you should get it, because you'll have really good experience for at least 1 or 2 years. You'll have really good experience, and it's the best value for money. Like, that's all I have to say about this phone. And that's all for today. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.